Okay, so what is the agenda, right? The agenda for today is like we will extend our discussion of playwright. Okay, and what we have to do is I think today is day 27, I believe, of playwright, and we have to start our discussion on CI/CD. Okay, CI/CD part. Now, what we have already done, right, as part of this, I mean, we don't have to start. We have already started. What we have already done is we have already ran our playwright automation framework on a Windows machine, right, which I've been doing from day one. We have already ran it on Linux machine, right? And we have now run it also on AWS EC2 instance, right? Right. Now, if you understand the flow of it, why did we go through this way? Because ultimately you would find people using your servers, right? They will have a dedicated server which would act as an agent machine where the all your CI/CD pipelines runs, right? And if you would go to the core of it, it is always a Linux machine. Okay, so you already know how to run on Windows. You should be knowing like how to run on Linux. So we did that, and we also ran it on AWS EC2 instance. Now EC2 instance is just one of the way to do it, right? You could do it on a lot of different kind of systems, right? There are serverless services provided by AWS, right? In which they themselves, you just tell them, okay, I need this kind of a machine, and they spin it for you, right? So that's why it is called serverless. There are Kubernetes environment, right? There is a Docker environment, right, where you can go and spin up all this and work on it, right? But the goal is that you should understand like how things are running, right? As I'm saying, right, there could be hundreds of different ways to run things. We covered three things, right? Windows, Linux, and AWS EC2. Now, what we'll do now is today, right? We have three objectives in mind to cover. Okay, for Playwright. The first thing which we'll do is, you remember, we when we ran all our execution, right? We were generating some output artifacts, right? Output artifacts, which is in case of Playwright is a Playwright report, right? Which can spin up. Okay, now we were getting that artifacts, but we were not using that artifact to display the report, right? How on Windows we know how we'll do it. We'll just go and say npx playwright show report, right? This is what you can do, show report, right? And this will spin up your report and you can see it on the browser, right? Similarly on Linux also, right? You can also run this same command over there. When it comes to AWS EC2, right? See, these two are like local machines which you might have in your system, and they will remain with you even after the execution. But what about these AWS EC2 instance and all the other things which you will have here? The problem there is that these are the machines which will remain available for a fraction of time, right? Only for the time when the execution is happening. You would not want to spin these machines forever. Why? Because they bear a cost, right? They will not be available for you for the lifetime. No, right? You used it, you executed things on it, and then they would be gone. So if they would be gone, you would also be losing the output artifacts, right? Because those are residing inside those machines. You need a way to get those output artifacts somewhere, right, into a source which is persistent and which can persist, right? And you can have it stored somewhere and you can later use it. So for that purpose, right, again there are multiple ways to do it. The most efficient way is, or the cost effective way which I am aware of, right, is the S3 bucket, at least in the context of AWS, right? So today what we'll do is, this is the discussion which is pending, right? What we have done is we have the AWS infra. Okay, we have the AWS infra. We created one EC2 machine here. We did all the things on the EC2 to get our project, and then we ran the execution, right? And after the execution, we got an Playwright result folder right over there. Now we want this Playwright result folder to be kept somewhere else, because this machine will be gone after the execution itself, right? We want this folder to be placed somewhere else. Now what we'll do is, there is a concept of S3 bucket, right, in AWS, which we will create, right? And we can push this artifacts to this S3 bucket, and this bucket will live. Okay, it will not go away, it will live until you specifically say you go and say, okay, delete it, right? So what we'll today see is like how can we push this artifact, right, this folder from here to the S3 bucket, and from there how can we access, or how can we make it available for the other people to see, right? Now it is easier said than done. Okay, but the point here is like we have already covered all the, see, when I talk about AWS, right, there is abundance of knowledge which requires, right, to work on all this. Well, you need to understand what is S3, you need to understand what is EC2, how the how the EC2 connects with S3, right? It's not that EC2 is free to connect to anything in AWS. No, you need to give some required permissions there. Okay. Now again, this is something which you can only gain the knowledge if you are someone who knows AWS very well, right? And I have been saying this: go and sit for cloud practitioner exam, and it will give you a lot of knowledge around AWS, right? But again, having said that, I have covered in my DevOps folder, right, which you already have access to. I have already covered all the basics of EC2, S3, and all these, right, and how to configure all of that. Let me just show it once again to everyone so that they can see. And today, what we'll do is we will connect this EC2 with S3 and show you how the execution happens. But for the complete picture, right, for the complete picture or the detailed understanding of all the different things, I would recommend, right, please go and check this only. Java Stack Bootcamp, DevOps, AWS, right? If you go to AWS, here if you see, right, I have explained in detail what is AWS, how to create an account, what is service overview, what are the different things, right? Data centers, availability zones, right? Policies, and all this, right? Security group, EC2, and all that. You can see, right, S3 buckets here. So S3 bucket, you can see the like how can we push. I have shown here, right, with respect of LEO reports and all that, right? And what is all required. So again, so there are videos which you can see. I will today demonstrate again like how this can be done, right? But again, I am repeating for the internal knowledge of things or the basic information around it, right? Please do watch these videos and do it in sequence if you don't know about AWS. Okay, do not try to jump to the third or the fourth video without seeing the first two. These are in sequence, and this is how you should be doing it. Okay, okay. Let's start the process. What we'll do first is we'll go to AWS, right? We have an AWS account. And again, I have given a warning earlier also. AWS, right? Do not attempt to do anything in AWS until unless you understand this in a good way. Okay, because it bears a cost. If you create an account on AWS, it asks for a credit card. Okay, so if you by mistake run some service and you let it run, right, and you go beyond the free tier limits, you will be charged heavily. Okay, so please be careful. Okay, and only attempt once you have the required confidence and you know that you think that you can, and you understand the things. Okay, again, the calculated risk part. Okay, so let's do this. Today's session might go beyond 10:30. Okay, so please uh, do find some time. Just a second. I have to cover multiple things today.
Okay, is there a way to put a cap on the utilization of these resources so that we
There
can
is no cap,
control?
but you can do is there is a way to put the limits, right, in your if you go to here, right, billing and cost management, right. Actually, there are thousands of services on AWS, right. Even people like me who might have worked on AWS for a long time, right, might not know about everything. But here, right, in AWS, just to answer your query, you have a concept of where you can set up a budget. Okay, and I have already set up a budget, which is here, right, budgets and planning. So you will go to the budgets and you can set up the threshold, right? So that you know that, so that if something goes beyond that limit, you are made aware, right? And that is what I've done. I have created a budget here, right, which says my zero spend budget. And here, if you would see, right, I have set a threshold that I don't want to spend something beyond $1. Getting it? And whenever this breaches, right, they will send me a mail, or I think it will be a mail only. They will be sending a mail, right, or flash some alerts here, right, in the AWS console itself, right? If you would see, I have never gone through the I have never surpassed that limit. Why? Because I'm currently running in a free tier account. Okay, I have a 12 months access to this. Anyone who creates an AWS account, they provide you a 12 months free access, but there is a limit to every service you consume. Okay, so if you know those limits and you know what, you understand things, then only use it. Otherwise, it can be something like this, right? Because they are taking away your credit card information as a first step while registration. Okay, so again, just to answer query, this is what you see, right? You create a budget here like this. You will say, okay, I wanted to. If you see, right, I have set, right, enter your budgeted amount. So I have set the amount, filter specific AWS cost dimensions per scope. Okay. Track any cost incurred from any service from this account as part of the budget scope. Select specific dimension project. So you can select the specific services EC2 budget constraints. No, this is wrong. Let me just update this. AWS add filtering and use advanced option to narrow those test of cost. Recommended charges type are now located under scope action under this. To configure type choice, aggregated cost by. Okay, they keep on adding a lot of things to their existing services. So track any cost incurred from any service, right? This is what I want. I'll say next, and I believe I am done or not. Okay, when should this alert be triggered? When I have this amount. Okay, how should this alert be actual? When your actual cost is greater than this, the alert threshold will be exceeded. Notification, select one of this. So I will receive a mail on this once that threshold is breached, right? And let's say next alert, right? So threshold is this. So if even not $1, right, it is 1 cent. So if I surpass this limit, I'll be notified. Okay, you got the answer, and
Yes, understood. Yep.
okay. But again, as I said, right, working on AWS, the best way to learn AWS, right, is to get the access in your project. Okay, and start seeing things over there. Get a read-only access from the project and start exploring what your project is already doing using AWS. Once you get comfortable, right, and understand things, then start practicing things by creating things on AWS. But before that, I would again say, please sit for, or at least prepare for cloud practitioner, or you can take a course from Stephen Merrick on Udemy, which will cost you 500, $600, right? And you can go for a cloud practitioner exam preparation course, right? And it will give you tons of knowledge. Okay, I myself has learned a lot of things from him only. Okay, so again, just a reference for you. You can check that. Okay, going back to our piece, right? So we are starting from blank scale. Okay, I do not have anything right now, so let's start creating. I'm going to EC2. So okay, let me first tell like what I'm doing. Okay, see, what I will do is I will first create an EC2 instance, right? EC2 instance, I will create EC2 instance, and there I will make sure that I have the required software. The software which I need are what? I need Git, I need Node, I need npm, right? And what else do I need? I need SSH keys, right? So that I can create private and public key, right? Public key I will copy and move it to the GitHub account, right? I will push it there, and then what I will do is I will do a Git cloning, right? Git cloning. Once I do a Git clone, it will pull the code from the GitHub to the EC2, and now I will have the code, and then I will do what? I will do npm install to make sure that I have the node module folder, right? And all the packages required mentioned in the package.json file. After that, I will say I will install all the browsers provided by Playwright. So for that, I will say npx playwright install, right? And then what I will do is I will then run my code, right? Run the program, right? By saying npx playwright test and all that, right? So this is how you will do it, and this we have already done in the last class, right? But today again, right, I will do all of this to make sure that we understand things, right? Once we are done, right, then we will create an S3 bucket. Okay, we'll create an S3 bucket and go through the process of it. Let's do it very quickly now. So we'll go to the launch instance, EC2. Okay, so playwright, playwright machine, let's say playwright machine. We have Linux. Okay, so you can see, right, it's a free tier. I'm using Amazon Linux. This is free tier. The user which I'll be using is EC2 user. Okay, okay, fine. Instance type is a T2 micro. T2 micro is a name of a machine, which means that you will have 1 GB memory and one vCPU inside this as part of this machine. This is like a hardware configuration. And then I need a key pair, which I already have. Okay, I need Jenkins key or what? I will use okay key, let's say. Okay. This is SSH key, right, which you can generate, which will help you to remotely connect to this EC2 machine, right, from anywhere using your local machine, using something else, right, also to connect to this remotely to this EC2 machine, which is like a server. Okay, this key pair helps there. And after that, right, you can just ignore everything and just say launch instance. Number of instances to be launched is 1. So let's just wait for this to get up and running. We already had the commands, right, which we used last time to install things. So we'll just run it very quickly to get all the stuff. Okay, so let it be up and running. So if you would
We
see,
should be trying to use a T2 micro, right? For
yeah,
free.
T2 micro is the free one, right? T2 micro is the free one in the initial 1 year. It is not like it is free forever, right? Even in the 1 year, there is a cap, 750 hours per month. If you calculated this, it is like if you run one T2 micro machine for the entire month, right, and leave it running for 24 hours, you are still within the boundary. You will just surpass it by 1 or 2 hours, I believe. Okay, because 24 hours into 30 is what, 720, right? 720 hours, 720 plus 24. Let's say it is 31 months, 31 days, kind of a day. So 24 hours into 31 is what? It is 744 hours, correct? So it is within the limit of 750. So you are still safe. But imagine you started two T2 micro servers, then just double it, right? So it will be 1500 hours. Now there is a problem, right? You have already, the threshold says 750 hours per month is free. That too for a T2 micro. If you exceed that limit, you will be charged, right? You will be charged. And they have a pricing for it, which they depict over there, right? So again,
Uh,
every service has a limit.
Um, Parallelly, as you mentioned that you try to use your if it's available from your company. So I'm just logged into the AWS account of mine, or and can you just again go to the page where you're writing the name. So just a quick,
You have to
because
go to
I
the you have
am
to go to the dashboard. You have to
yeah
go to the dashboard,
dashboard, yeah,
and
there,
then
then
you will see a button called launch instance, right?
yeah, I did
Let's go
this.
there.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you do it right, you will see these things. Are you seeing this
Yes,
information?
yes, yes,
So
yes,
here
I'm
you will
saying
give
this.
name, right? And then if you scroll
Yeah.
scroll up, you will see instance type,
uh, yes, quick start is there. Yeah, we selected
right? And
AWS,
then if you
Amazon
scroll
Linux,
down, there is a this
and this.
instance type.
Yeah,
Here it tells you, right, on that the what
yes,
is the cost involved, right? But as of now, if you remain within the limit, it is
yeah,
free,
yeah, yeah. It says free tier eligible. Beautiful.
right? So
Yes,
this is how it is.
and just then it, it's it right.
You want to start the server or what?
to micro. Yeah, like it is also showing for me as free tier eligible. So if I start it, it shouldn't uh,
Okay.
shouldn't affect any
You're
cost
using
at my own.
your company's account.
Yes,
Okay.
I think we have the access. We have the access to spin up a server. That's
Okay.
that's the reason I'm seeing all these options, right?
Okay. No, no, yes, you're right. You're saying, but again, be careful because once you start up a server, something, right? Maybe they will have some, let's say, logging, right? Where they will notify that someone started something, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm
So,
aware of that
okay,
part. They will
okay,
be notified, but I think okay, I'll just confirm this with my manager. If he agrees to this, then I'll try to give some answer. Okay, let me stop.
right. But again, right, Anant,
Yeah.
I'm repeating myself, right?
Yes,
Using
yes.
AWS, right, comes with a lot of responsibilities. Okay,
Right.
so if you understand things completely, only then try to practice. Okay,
Agreed.
okay, okay. And again, for everyone, again, I can just recommend you, right, if you are interested to learn about AWS, please, you can check this course from Stephen Merrick, which is a very good course, and he's a very good teacher. Stephen, Stephen Merrick, and he is a very good course on cloud practitioner, cloud certified AI practitioner. Where is the cloud practitioner? Let me just search for it then. Cloud practitioner, right? This is practice exams, not this one. I need a course. Let me search. Cloud practitioner. This one, right? Let me search this one. This one, right? Ultimate AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner CLF 302 2025. This is the course which you should get enrolled into and learn a lot from this. Okay, right? You can see the number of students which are involved. It is, I believe, 11 lakhs 53,000. Okay, so please go through this process first, right? What I'm showing you is just limitations of 5 or 6 services: EC2, S3, IAM, budgets, right? Maybe creating an account and all that. But AWS has thousands of services, and there's a whole ecosystem involved which you need a knowledge on if you really want to practice things on AWS by yourself. Okay, I am able to do it because I have gone through this process, and I am myself a cloud practitioner. I am a certified cloud practitioner. That's why I do. That's why I'm doing all this, right? But again, for you, if you're using your own resources, then you have to be very extra careful. But if you're using your company resources also, right, you can seek help from your peers and make sure that you are allowed to do so, and you understand things what you're doing and how to bring those things in the normal state again. Okay, after you start them. So please, right, be careful whenever you do things. Okay, so let's go back, right, to our case.
Yeah, the
Otherwise,
last part is is major. Bring things back to normal.
right, so because if you kept it running, right, it will keep on bearing a cost, and ultimately a meeting would be set up in the team and asked, right, okay, who started this. It
Yes,
is
yes.
very heavy, right? They charge per dollar, right? I mean, per hour, it is charged in the dollar terms. If you see, let's say you let it open, right, for 24 hours, and let's say it is charging you $1 per hour. It is $24, right? $24 in today's time. If you multiply it by just 100, right? Let's say it is 100. It is 2,400 rupees per day. And let's say you forgot about things and you let it open during the weekends. You are charged already 7,500 for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, so again, I'm just talking about one EC2 instance and all that. People let Kubernetes plus they create a Kubernetes cluster and let it remain open, right? Which is using hundreds of pods within it. So it is a very I mean it can get to very nasty things. But if you know things, then only you can control it, right? So please be careful when you do things. That's why I have given a warning in the initial itself. Although I'm showing you all this, it does not mean that you have to practice this, right? But at least go through the process, right? Okay, let's go back. So we have this EC2 instance running, right? Let's go there. and I want to connect to this. So let's just say very quickly connect. We have connect using EC2 instance, EC2 user, and we are using username, and let's connect. Again, you can use a putty, you can use MobaX term, you can use any of your your local terminals, right, to connect to this. I am using again another service from AWS itself to connect to the EC2 machine. Okay, now it has connected me to the EC2 that server, right, which I created, and I'm inside this. Okay, now let's very quickly start running things. I will very quickly do this. So, paste. I will become a super user. Okay, and update my package managers. I cannot paste things. Okay, I do a control V. I have to do it this way only. Okay, come on, man. Let's do this. Okay, so this is done. Let me now install Git. So we have installed Git. Great. Let us get our Google Chrome browser. And let us now install that file which we have downloaded. And then we will okay. In the meanwhile, it is doing things right. Let us start one more thing, right? We will start working on S3 bucket also. So if you see, right, there is a service called S3. There's a service called S3 in AWS, which is like you can understand S3 like a database which can store things, right? And it can store anything which you will send to it, a video, a audio, a text file, a database, whatever you have, right? It can store everything. Okay. So again, to just understand S3, you need a lot of knowledge. What we are learning here is how to create it. That's it, right? So we'll go and create a bucket. So we're creating a bucket. Bucket, you can understand. Bucket is like your the pani bucket, right? That water bucket. Think of it this way, right? And you can collect objects inside this, like water, right? So they are giving you a bucket, and you will have a name for that bucket, and you will place objects inside this. Now what I'm doing is I'm just creating a general purpose. Let me create a bucket name for myself. I will say playwright Akhil bucket. Let's say the name which you're giving to the bucket has to be unique across the world, right? Not just your account. So you, if you try with a specific name, you might get an error that it is already taken up, and you might think, okay, I'm not created any bucket with that name. Why it is giving me? The reason is that this name needs to be unique across the world, across all the accounts in the globe. Okay, so that is how it works. After this, right, I'll just go and create bucket. Right, I'm not explaining all these the whatever what they are doing, right? It is not of our purpose. So our bucket is filled, right? If you go inside the bucket now, you will see there is no objects. The objects are missing. Okay, so we'll work on it. So we have the now bucket ready with us, which can work. Great. So let's go back here. So our eight. So our I think our this also got. So we have Google Chrome installed. Let us check the version of Google Chrome just to make sure that it is installed. So if you see, right, yeah, we have it. Now we will install Node.js. Now I found a quicker way to install Node.js through this command. Earlier we were using some other command. Let's say DNF install Node.js in this. Yes. So it will go and install the latest, I believe, the versions of Node.js and all. So let me check the version of it. So Node -v. Yes. Oh, installed 18th version. Okay. Okay, I don't think I'll have a problem with it, but let's see. If we'll have a problem, we'll upgrade it. Okay, so let it be this way. Now, what is pending is we need to generate SSH keys so that we can connect. We are able to clone our repos. So let us say SSH keys and yes, 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 and it has edited the files, right? So we'll go into that folder. We are currently using root user, so it would be placed under the root folder. SSH, if you will see, this is the file, and we want the content of the public file. id rsa dot pub. So this is the content, right? And I need to do what? I need to now open my personal account and get to that GitHub account and go to the settings, SSH keys and GPG keys. Here, let me delete this. The earlier one, let's create a new one. So this is EC2 EC2 GitHub key. Okay, and let's paste this. Oh, sorry. Where is the content? Here. Okay, why do I need this? Because my repo is a private repo. If it was a public repo, then there was no problem, right? I do not have to do any of this. And SSH keys, passkey. Yeah, so I have been able to add this, right? Now, great. So I'm done with all the process. Let's go back to our root, not here or where I should do it. Let's do npwd. We are in the root folder and we have nothing here. We need to go to the home EC2 user, and if you would see, this is what we have, right? Now let's do the cloning, right? We'll clone our project and see whether it works or not. So this is our here we'll go to the repositories, fs playwright. We will do the SSH, copy this, come here and do a git clone. Okay, let me write git clone paste, right? So yes, you can see, right? I've got the project fs playwright. Let's do a git status, which will tell us on which branch we are currently on. We are on day 1, right? We want to be on the latest branch, which is day 26. So let's check the content now. So we are on day 26 branch, right? Now the next step is that we need to we need to have the node module folder. How do you do it? You need to have npm install. This will read out the packages, the third party packages mentioned in this file, and install all of them, right? Into the node module folder. If you see, there is no node module folder as of now. It will be now created. Let's see. Node module folder is here now, right? And you have the required packages. Now we need one more thing. We have the Chrome browser already. We need the browsers which Playwright provides. How to do it? npx Playwright install, and it will download all 4 or 5 browsers, right? Which it keeps it itself. So let it do. This is a repetition of what we have already done in the last class. Okay. But I could have started from there itself, but I thought to give it a revision again, just to make sure that we are in the continuity. Okay. Okay, you can see WebKit is also now available. Okay, now we have everything. Now what we need to do, what we need to just start our execution. And to start our execution, we have the command. Let me just copy paste that command. Where is the command? Okay, I do not have the command itself. Okay, let me write npx playwright test project equals to Chrome test. And let me just copy and paste it somewhere in my notes. Copy and oh, I have it already. I could not see it last time. Okay, it's fine. Let's run this and see what happens. You can see it started executing, and it was able to read my JSON file, and it was able to read the data from the screen. So it means it is doing the execution. And now once the execution, we are running in a headless mode, okay? Because these servers do not have GUI. We cannot see things happening over there. So we are running in a headless mode, and it passed, right? Now let us see the content. You will see a folder called Playwright report, which got only created because you did the execution. Now, if you were on a Windows machine where you had the GUI, you could see the report by saying npx playwright show report. It will go inside the folder, and if you go inside the folder, you have this file, right, index.html, which will spin up on a static web. See how things run, right? When you say npx playwright show report, what it does, it starts a web server, right, internally available inside Playwright, and what it will do is it will host this static website. It's a website, okay? Index.html represents your every HTML file is like a website only, okay? If you open any website, you will see an HTML file behind the scenes, right? Because which contains all the HTML text, how things represents, okay? And the data of what needs to be shown under that UI is all collected under this data and trace folder, okay? So there is a mapping here, right, which is involved. To spin up all three things and collate them and start it up, right, you need a web server, and Playwright already uses a web server, static web server, to do so, right? But here in this case, and you can do here also, right? But the problem is you will not be able to see the report because you do not have a GUI. Now what is the solution? The solution is that I can take this report out of this server and place it somewhere where I can use it later on, right? Now for doing that, what I'm saying is we will go here, right, and start working on our S3 bucket. We have already, and let's go through the process, right? We have already created the bucket, so we have the bucket. Great, right? So we have the bucket ready, we have the EC2 ready, but the connection between, see, EC2 needs to do what? Let's say I have the bucket, and I'm saying that, okay, I have this folder now, and I want this folder to be pushed to this S3, right? Now to push this folder to the S3, right, EC2, this machine server, right, needs to have the access to this S3, which it currently does not have. It does, the connection between EC2 and S3 is not there, okay? You cannot run it like this. If you, okay, and okay, first of all, we understood, right, there is no connection right now, right? So there is no connection right now, so you cannot push it. But let's say if you had the connection, how would you push it? You would use AWS CLI service, right? You would use AWS CLI. So there is a command, right? So you need to have this AWS CLI installed on the servers. Thankfully, whenever you spin up a EC2, it already has this CLI installed in the machine. To check that, you can please go back and type here AWS and check the version of it. You see, AWS CLI 2.23.11 is already installed. So it is already given to you by AWS on each of its EC2 instances, right? So we have this setup. Yeah, Anand.
I just remember, like we can even download this toolkit onto our local system as well in order
Yes,
to connect with this AWS instance, right? From our
absolutely correct,
command
right?
line.
Absolutely right. And
Yes.
that's why I'm pointing it out, right? If you are doing it from local, you will have to do it specifically, right? You will have to download the CLI. But if you're doing it from the EC2 instance itself, right, it already has the CLI installed. Okay,
Yeah, it makes the work easy, right?
right. So you don't have to worry about like what I have to install and all. At least you can, if so, what I'm trying to tell you here is, right, to connect to the S3 bucket, you need AWS CLI, which you have. But having this AWS CLI, right, does not mean that you can connect to anything in under the AWS ecosystem. No, you need this machine, right? This EC2 machine needs to have the specific permissions which allows it, right, to connect to that S3 bucket. So that permission does not exist as of now. right? We will have to create it. Okay, we will have to create it. Okay, but let's say we have that permission. Let's say we had the permission. What is the command to push the artifact from this EC2 to the S3 bucket? If you see your S3 bucket, right, it is empty. There is no object here, right? You can see. If there were any objects, you would see up here, right, in a kind of a list. You do not see anything, right? So it does not have. Let me just refresh it again. It has nothing. It will no object, right? Now, what is the command to push things to it? Let me first of all come out of this folder. I want to push this folder, right? I want to push this folder to the S3 bucket. Now, again, the command here, right? I can just give you the command directly. The command to push is this one. You will say AWS S3 sync. You will give the folder name, right, which you wanted to push, right, as a source thing, and you will give the bucket name here, right, to which you want to push. So in my case, my bucket name is what? My bucket name is this. Let me copy the bucket name. Okay, and when you do this, let's see. Unable to locate credentials. You don't have the access, right? Now let's create that access. What we'll do is, let me just first explain this also. The AWS is very secure, right? And you have to be careful when you try to give the access to something, right? To access things. So understand this way, right? You are sitting in a AWS world, right? So let's say that this is AWS ecosystem, entire AWS infra across the globe. You create one account on it, which is like this, right? Let's say, and you will have billions of such accounts, right? This is your account. This is my account, Akhil Podcast. Now I have just spin up one EC2 instance within it, which is this one, where my one of the folder is sitting, right? Playwright. Now this is EC2. I have also started an S3 bucket, which looks like this, and with the name of Playwright Akhil, right? Bucket. So this is the bucket for it. What I'm asking is push this to here, right? And the command to do is this AWS S3 sync folder name Playwright report and to the S3 bucket with the name as this, right? So it will go here. This is what I'm doing, right? And to do this, you need to have AWS CLI installed, which you already have on this EC2 instance available, right? So I don't have to install it specifically. But if you're doing it from a local machine, you require to have it. Now, the second thing, you have this now, but you do not have the access from EC2 to connect to S3. You will have to give the permissions. Now, for the permissions part, right? For the permissions part, now try to understand who is trying to access S3. Is it me as an individual, like a person who is trying to access it? Is he trying to access the EC the S3 bucket, or is it a machine, right? Is it a machine who is trying to access the S3 bucket? It is the machine, right? It is like a service to a service. So there is a service called EC2, which wants the 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 access, right, to this S3 bucket, right? So this is another service. This is from person, or let's say consumer, to the service, right? Or let's say person, right? So it is person to S3 access, it is service to service access, right? Now both have different, now depending on the nature of access which you want, right, you will have to give the permission accordingly, right? Since in our case, and since in our boundary of discussions, we are discussing about this part, right? We are discussing about this part. So for if you need to achieve this, there is a service called IAM roles, right? Which caters to this need, which you will have to create and create that role, right, which will have all the permissions being set, like who can access what, and then attach that role, right, to this EC2 instance. So now you will have to do two steps: create this role and then attach it to EC2. And only then this EC2, if you fire this command again, it will be able to push these things to hit. Okay, let us see how to do it. You might have a lot of questions, but again, Again, I'm just showing it for the purpose of demonstrating, right? If you want to understand this completely, again, I would recommend please go and prepare for cloud practitioner exam. Okay, that is the only way to understand the entire ecosystem of AWS. At least it's a start towards that journey. Let's start. Okay, so what we're talking about, we're talking about IAM, right? So I will go to IAM. Let me create. Let me open one more window so that I don't have to open it again. So this is the console tab. You can just search right in the search bar, although I can see it here also, right? IAM, but get into a habit of searching here, right? You can just type the service name and you can just go there. IAM. If you would go here, right, you see roles, right? Okay, if you would check my videos, right, which I'm telling you here, right, creating this here, right, I have explained about user creation, group creation, adding policies and all. So this is the video for it. Okay, but again, for our purpose, since I told you we want to give a permission for a service to access another service, right? For that, roles exist. You will go what? You will go and create roles, right? Although I already have created a policy, let me just delete it and I will create it again. Okay, just a second. Delete. So the policy should be deleted. Okay, let me get a new role itself. Okay, so I want to give the access to AWS service, right? Again, there are a lot of different ways. Okay, so we're talking about this AWS service, and the use case which I want is I want to give the access to something called EC2. Okay, now in the EC2, choose the use case for the specific service. Now for me, this allows EC2 instance to call AWS service on your behalf. This is what I'm interested in. So this will suffice my need. Let's say next. So if you understand, right, I have chosen what is my source. I'm saying, okay, EC2 is my source. Okay, which want now I'm telling now on this page I'm giving some permissions to EC2. I'm giving the permissions to EC2 to access something on S3, right? Now if you see, right, there are a lot of policies being mentioned. I want to give the access to only S3, right? Let me search the policy with the S3 thing. You see, there are a lot of policies being created by default by AWS. I am I'm looking for this is a policy, right? Amazon S3 full access. Okay, I want to give this permission to the EC2. Okay, service. So Amazon S3 full access. If you expand this, right, you will see that this is the policy which has been given. Okay, again, this is already created by AWS and it's a template available for us. If you want to create some custom policies, you are allowed to do so here itself, right? You can create your own policies, but I'm going to use the one which is already existing. So, and I'm attaching this policy, right, which says give full access to connect to do anything within the S3 bucket, right, to the EC2 instance. Okay, this is what I'm doing. I don't want to set any boundary. Let's say next. Let me say here EC2 access to S3 buckets. Okay, this is my role name. Now what I'll do is you can change all this if you want, but this is the policy, right, which is being given. And we are good. Let's create the role. So the role is created. Okay, EC2 access to S3 bucket. Now the role is created, right? But if you see, right, I can have multiple EC2 instances running, right? I did not specify which EC2 machine I want to give this role to, right? Now for doing that, let's go here. So there's a role existing, right, which has the power to access all the everything inside S3, but I have not given that power to any of my instance. Now I will give that power to the specific instance. I will choose EC2. You see, if you go to the dashboard, go to instances running. You can see, right, currently I see only one instance, but there could be hundreds of instances of EC2 running, right? Now here I have to tell to which instance I want to give that power. I want to give the power to this instance, right now. I will select this, go to actions, security, modify IAM roles. And here, right, you can see the IAM role being provided here. Just select this and say update IAM roles. So successfully attached to this instance, right? So there is a way to do everything in AWS, right? But you need to know that way. That's why I'm saying understanding about the ecosystem of AWS is very important. Until unless you do so, you will always be puzzled. Okay, why these things are happening here and there. Now we have attached the policy. Now let's reattempt our part of pushing the artifacts to that bucket. See, instantly it was able to upload things, right? It was able to upload a lot of things. Let's go to the S3 bucket. Let's refresh it. You see, we got everything: data, index, HTML, and trace. Great. So if you go back now, what we were able to achieve, we were able to create IAM role attached to EC2 and then push, right? Push our artifacts to S3 bucket using AWS CLI. So these things are done. Now, why did we push there? We pushed there because maybe to use it as a repository where we can store things. Great. If that is a purpose, great. We achieved it. But I have another purpose, right? I want to view that report, right? I want to view that report. Now let's focus on S3, right? So we are on S3. We are on S3, right? So this is our S3 bucket with the name as Playwright. Okay, let's say Akhil, right? This was the name. And here I have in this bucket, right? I have the folders like index.html, the data folder, and the trace folder. So I have all of this, right? Now I want to view this. Okay, now I want to view my report. Okay, you might say, Akhil, how will you do? I don't see a GUI here, right? You will say, Akhil, I do not have a GUI on the S3 bucket. How will you see a report? If I click on it, will it open the report? No, it will show you the content of the index.html file if you're interested. Otherwise, here it just shows you the properties of it, right? You cannot see it. Okay, if you want to see the things, you can open this up. You can just open this. Okay, it says access denied. This is another problem which we have to solve. We'll talk about it. Okay. So you still you can't even see I mean, you're not able to access this, right? And again, this is our HTML file, right? And it needs a lot of other resources which are sitting in data and trace folder to be consumed and then show you a report. Okay. Now to do all this, you need a static web server to run this thing, right? You need a static web server. In our case, when you were running things locally, it was brought with Playwright itself. So Playwright already has an inbuilt server, right? And when you were using npx playwright show report, right, it was spinning up what it was doing. It was starting web server, right? And then in the web server, right, it was giving the access to all your Playwright folder, Playwright result folder, right? Playwright result folder, it was giving access to it, and then within that file it was accessing this index.html file, and then starting this on a server and giving a URL of it, right? It was generating a URL where the local web server was running, and then it was also opening it on the browser for you to see, right? Now that is your part, right? That you want to view it in Chrome, IE, or wherever, right? But these are the things which it was doing. Okay, and it was also automatically starting it on a default servers of your choice. Now we want to do the same thing in case of S3. Now S3, right? S3 itself provides you a mechanism where you can start a static web server. Okay, so it is inbuilt in S3. Again, a use case, right? For at least for our automation part, right? S3 is a very good choice for people who just wants to store the artifacts in a persistent service, right? Plus, you want to view the results, right? on the fly, right? And for that, you do not want to provision any external servers, right? You just want to use the capability of S3. Now, S3 has a feature within itself where it can host a static website, right? A static website. So what you will do is you have already have the content. So content is now to host the static website, right? What it will do is it will start a web server. It can start a web server, and but that web server needs the content, right? Which it needs to display. We already have the content. We already have the content, right? We just need to start this web server, and we need to tell that what is the root file which we want to see once that server starts. So here it will ask us when we'll start this up. It will say, okay, tell me the file name which I want to start, which is the starting point of it. The starting file is this index.html. So we'll give a path to it, and once we give, it will start the web server. Let's do it. S3, right? Again, please try to understand what is happening here is it's like you have created an application. You have created an application which is a UI application, and you want to host it somewhere. What you're doing, you're trying to find the cheapest way to do it on AWS. You said, okay, we will use AWS S3, and there is a inbuilt service to it where it can also host that your application, right? Which is a static website. Remember my words, I'm saying static website. I'm not saying dynamic website. Okay, static website. Static website are the ones which do not require your backend to be involved. Okay, everything which you want to do in that website, everything is already available in the inbuilt JavaScript code which came along, which is being hosted by the server itself. So whatever that server has to do, right, it already has all the things inside itself. It does not need a backend, a API layer involved to run things. If you have that need, S3 can be used for all the static websites. You can create your own static website and host it on AWS S3, and then generate and generate it through a static website over here, right? And give the URL to everyone else to access it. We will see that process now. Okay. So here we are in the under this bucket. What we'll do is we'll go to the properties. You see static website hosting. We'll go edit this. We will enable it. By default, it is disabled. We will enable it. Host a static website. Use the bucket endpoints as the web address. Okay. And here it will ask, right, what is your index.html file? This is the file name. I have the same file name, index.html. So I'm giving it. Okay. Error document. No, I don't need this. And we'll save the changes. Now look at this. You see, there is a URL, right, generated for your website. Very simple, right? Just enable it. Now try to access this. If you try to access this, it is still saying forbidden. Okay, we have one more problem now. So we were able to do this, right? So this part is done actually, right? So this is done. This is done. There is no problem in doing this. The problem is, you see, right? Who is accessing this URL right now? I am accessing it from my browser, right? Now, if you were accessing, right, if this URL was being accessed maybe by the internal services of AWS infra, then it would have been allowed. But now what is happening is someone is trying to access this URL on the public cloud, okay, on the public world wide web, right? Now there is a problem. It is not allowed. AWS does not allow the outside world to access its service by default. If you want to allow it, you will have to again give some permissions. Okay, and here in case of S3, permissions are very easy to give. You will just come up here, right, under the property, go to the permissions, block public access, right? You will have to enable it. It is blocking all the things, right? I will enable it and save changes. Let's say confirm, right? And let's try to access this again. Let's see whether it works or not. Okay, one last problem. Okay, one last problem to solve. So we have done this. So it is allowing. Okay, see, now try to understand. See, it's like a nut and bolts, right? It is like nut and bolts. You screwed two nuts. There is one nut which is pending. Why is that? Let's see. You have an EC2 instance, you have an S3 bucket, right? First of all, you gave the permission to EC2 to push this, right? For this, you created a role, right? So we did this, then it was able to push it. Great. Now S3, right? You wanted to host a web service, right? You have the content here, and you wanted to host. So what you did, you created a static website. You hosted static website hosting. You enabled this. So now this is working in the background. This is perfectly working fine, right? Second thing, this is my laptop, right? This is my laptop, and I want to access things, right? I want to access things from here, right? From here, I have a browser and I'm hitting the URL which I got from here. I'm hitting the URL. When I'm doing so, what will happen? Try to understand. It will be sending a request right from here to here, like this, right? Now, what is happening, right? There are two things, right? One is earlier, right? It was when someone was trying to access this URL from this here, right? It was it was able to reach to S3 and S3 was blocking it. So what you did, you said, okay, unblock public access. Public access. So now you have enabled this. Now people are allowed to access S3. Great. People are allowed to access to the S3 URL, right? Great. But there's a third thing. You need to also say to S3, okay, if someone is asking for any object, provide that object to it, right? Which is the response. We have not enabled this. So this needs to be also enabled. Okay, we enabled this part is still pending to be enabled. So now we will enable this part, and once this is done, we'll be able to see the report. What we'll do is we will go to the policy. So again, everything can be done inside S3 itself. So here we'll go and attach a policy, bucket policy, right? Edit this policy generator. We want to give a policy to S3 bucket. We want to allow, again, I'm just doing it right. I'm not sure whether you'll get it or not, but I'll try. I hope that you will be able to understand. What we want to do is we want to allow people to get access to our objects. Get objects. Okay, and ARN name, right? Object from which bucket? From which bucket? This is the unique thing, right? The identifier of this bucket. This is the ARN number, ARN value, right? So paste it here. Add statement. Generate policy. This is the policy which has been generated. You will copy this, go to the bucket and paste it here. Okay. So you are giving the access to the bucket. Now you're giving the permission to the bucket to allow people to access the objects within it. Save changes. Once this is done, now go and hit the URL. The report is working, right? And it is not only working for me, it will work for you also. Try to access it. I'm giving you the URL. Try to access this. Let me know whether you're able to access it or not. Is it working for you? Kiran, Anand, Kunjesh, anyone?
Understood. Working as expected now.
You are
Okay.
able to access. You're able to access it.
Yes.
No, I didn't try it, but now I can understand what happened.
Yes, I am able to access it.
You're able to access it, right? So you can see, right? Now you try to understand how easy it is, right? You're using S3 bucket to host your report, and what you have to do now, you do not need to attach your report to the emails. Just send this URL to the people, right? Getting it?
Yes.
You see everything here, right? You can see the execution here. You can see what happened. It is something which was happening in the EC2 instance, right? In a headless mode.
Yes, I can see the videos as well and the trace.
So this is how things works, right? In AWS and everything, and this is how we should be knowing about all this. Okay, so now this explains us, right, how to do the connection, right, with S3 and make sure that we are able to see the report. Okay. Okay, I don't think we'll have time to discuss Jenkins, although I wanted to do it. Uh, but I would, okay, okay. Let me just at least say one couple of things. Arey yaar, I don't want to catch up. Just a second. Let me just delete this. Okay, I think we can take. Okay, I'll take half an hour more. Okay, please. I want to wind this up. Okay. See, now, as I said, right, we have seen like how to do it on Windows. We have seen how to do it on Linux. We know how to do it on EC2, and now we also know how to push our artifacts to S3 bucket. Right. So all these things are done. Right. Now we are doing it manually by our side. Right. Now people do what in industry? They use CI servers. Okay, they use CI servers to do all of their part. What they do is they have a CI server which they will get access to, then they will create some jobs inside this to perform all the actions which we are doing. Okay, now so for in our case, right, we are using Jenkins. Okay, now for again, for people who do not have any understanding about Jenkins, this is the folder which you should refer. Okay, everything about Jenkins is explained here in detail, right? Right, so please go and check it, right, whenever you would like to go in deep into this, right? Everything is explained here, right, about Jenkins, at least the ones which is what you should be knowing for sure. Okay, now having said that, right, I already have Jenkins on my machine, and it is, and all the installation is being shown here also, right? Please check that if you face any issue, but I will just go start and show you like what Jenkins look like. My Jenkins look like this. It is running on this port 8080, and you will have the Jenkins CI server looks like this, right? Now, what do you do here, right? In a CI servers, you define your flows, right, which needs to be executed. Now, there could be two kind of flows. One is a freestyle, at least in the context of Jenkins, you have two kind of projects which you can create or jobs you can create. One is a freestyle job where you do only one thing, right? But and the second is to create a pipeline, which is something which you will see in your projects more often, right? There you have a pipeline where uh, pipeline is like you have multiple stages, right? First stage would be that someone would build the project, which is your dev job, right? Then that after building up the project, they will deploy it on a server, or let's say or give you the output artifacts, right, which can be started so that you can see the application running. And the third stage would be like once you have the application ready, you would like to test, right? So that is your job, right? The third stage, that is your job to have it there, right? So using Jenkins, you can do both the stuff. Just run your automation suite in a freestyle project, or include your automation thing, right, as a part of a pipeline, as a one of the stage of the pipeline. Okay, so we'll see both the things using Jenkins, and it is very easy to do and very quickly to do if you understand Jenkins. I know that if you don't have the experience on Jenkins, you should follow this. Okay, please access these, and you will get all the tons of knowledge which you should have. Okay, having said that, let's go back here, right? So what I'm saying is, what is how things run in pipeline, right? When we say about pipelines, see, when people ask me that how much should I know about designing a CI/CD implementation for automation suite, I tell them only one thing, right? Be good in understanding how your things works, right? Okay, when I say how your thing works in our context, it is the Playwright framework, right? We need to understand what all softwares do you need to run things, what is the sequence of steps you need to follow, right? And where is your output artifact setting, right? All of this, if you have, right, and you know how to run all of this on a Linux machine, right, which we have already done, then things are very simple. You do not have to worry about all of things then. Okay, now try to understand. What I'll do is I'll do two cases. Case one, which is very easy, right? I do not care do that I have a pipeline or not. My only job is, or my only concern is, I want to run my automation job. That's it. Okay. Without, let's say I have a dedicated server somewhere where the application is deployed, and I want to run my automation suite against that application, right? So what do I need from the application? Just the URL, right? Just the URL. Okay, just the URL. And once I have it, I would like to run my automation suite as per my wish whenever I feel like. Okay, so this kind of a setup is called as a freestyle project in Jenkins. Okay, and you can configure it when you want to run it or run it on demand. Everything is explained in those videos. Please check that. But how will you create it? Here, this is the dashboard screen of Jenkins. You will go to new item, and here this is the freestyle project, right? Let me get a freestyle project. I will say FS Playwright. Let's say let's say let's say freestyle project, freestyle job. Okay, and we'll say freestyle project. Okay, right now what happens here, right? What happens here is that you can create a project here, right? You will give a description and all, right? And all these parameters again explained there. And this is the Git, right? You need to tell like, see, what I want is I need to access my project, right? I need to access my project from somewhere, right? So that I can have the code. Now Jenkins as a server needs to know from where I need to pull the code from, right? So this is the repository, right? Which URL which you will give. What is the repository URL? Repository URL is this SSH key, right? This one, the one which you give during git clone. So you will give it here. Now the problem here is that since this is a private repo, it's a private repo. So again, the same problem will happen, which is to give the credentials, right? So again, the same process of SSH keys would be involved, where you will create a private and a public key, push your public key to the GitHub, and keep the private key here. Okay. 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 Let's do one thing. I'll not do it in a hurry. We'll do it. Let's have a proper meeting for this, and if you have time, let's connect in the evening. Okay. And I will go through the process. Okay, of Jenkins. But what I'm trying to tell you here is, with Jenkins, right, we will achieve the same stuff. Let me give you the scenarios. Okay, which I want to cover. I can create a freestyle project where you will have only one job, which is to test, which is to automate, right? Run the automation suite. And the second would be to create a pipeline. In the pipeline, it's like you have multiple, so understand this as a stage. Okay, you have a single stage in case of freestyle project. In case of a pipeline, you have multiple stages, right? And they are connected. That's why it is called as a pipeline. What you have here is, in this case, right? Let's say this is a build stage. Now, who is responsible of for this stage? Developers. They will create their UI code, backend code, database, right, and make sure that they are building it up, right, so that you can have an output artifact which can be deployed on a server, right? So the output of this stage would be the artifact. Let's say what kind of artifact? Let's say a jar file. Let's say the React file, right? Date files for the UI thing, right? These are the outputs, and then the next stage would be to deploy them. So that, let's say, you can deploy it on a UAT machine, on a QA machine, on a production, right, and all that, whatever, wherever they're deploying. Once they deploy, right, then your thing is your job needs to be done. You want to test your automation suite which you have already created against the new deployment which has happened on the servers, right? So as part of this pipeline, what is your job? This is the only piece of information which you need to understand. And if you see it, right, this is same as this, right? You did it here, right, as a standalone thing. Here you just integrating it into this pipeline. That's it. Okay. So if you understand this, this is very easy. You don't have to do. You just need to understand that pipeline is what is a sequence of stages. That's it. Where you need to plug in your stage in the appropriate area. That's it. Right. So we'll do this. Right. We'll do this in the evening. Freestyle project and pipeline project. We'll create both of them. One special thing which you need to understand. If you understand, right, Jenkins is currently running on my local, right? You can see local setup. It is currently on local setup. Okay, so running on local setup. Now Jenkins, right? When Jenkins has to run, right, Jenkins needs some power, okay, some CPU power to run your thing, right? To run your setup. In this stage, right? When I will say run this, right? It will have to do all the stuff. It needs to uh, see, if I'm asking Jenkins to run my automation suite, try to understand Jenkins is not doing any magic, right? Jenkins also has to go through the same process which you did on Linux or EC2. What all did you do? You installed all the software, right? Software was installed, right? Then you were updating your libraries, right? And then you were cloning the repo, right? Cloning the repo, and then you were running all your script, right? And then you were pushing the artifacts to S3. So all of these things needs to be done by Jenkins also, right? Now, by default, Jenkins, if you're installing on your local machine, like in my case, what it does is it uses my machine, my laptop as a, it uses the resources of that laptop, right, to do all of this. So what it will do is it will take some memory space from my local machine, right, and create a workspace within my folder within my machine, and inside this, right, run all these steps to install the software, to clone the repo, and then do the execution, right, execution, and then push it to S3. So all of this can be done here. So I will call it now. Now in this case, right, this Jenkins is using is, so these places on which it is working, right, are called like agent machines. Okay, agent machines. In this case, agent machine is using what? It is using my local setup, right? So we'll try to run things on this local setup, how it is run, which is the default case. But what we'll also do it, we will, instead of using local, I will do what? I will create a EC2 instance on AWS and then connect that EC2 instance as an agent to Jenkins, right? Instance as a node agent, and now I will ask Jenkins to run things. And when Jenkins will run the things, right, when Jenkins will run the things, what will happen is when Jenkins will run things, it will be able to, it will be doing what? It will not be doing the execution on a local machine. It will be connecting to that EC2 instance on the AWS and do all the stuff inside that EC2 instance, right? Which is similar to what we already did, which we just saw on under the EC2 instance, right? By when we were doing things manually. We want to do all that stuff in the EC2, right, via Jenkins. Okay, these are the four things which we'll see in the evening. We will see how to create a freestyle project. We'll see how to create a pipeline. We will see how to run that execution on a local setup and how to run it inside the EC2 instance using it as an agent on Jenkins. Okay. So this is the part for the evening. Please be available. Why I'm saying in the evening? Because tomorrow we have to do the same exercise for WebDriver IO also, which was pending, right, from our WebDriver IO session. So I'll do the same activity for WebDriver IO tomorrow. I want to wind up Playwright today, so please be available in the evening. At 7 p.m. I'll float the invites. Okay. Any query? Anything?
Okay. No comment, no queries.
No.
Okay, great. Right. So let's wrap it up here, right, and we'll connect in the evening now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you. Have a
Bye.
nice day. Bye.